Welcome to Atos Sustainability Talks, where your host, Renite, will talk with great guests about applying circular economy to digital workplace. Over to you, Ray.
Thanks, Frizzo. I'm your host for this episode, Ray Knight, an Atos Sustainability Portfolio Manager and Net Zero Lead for Cloud. And today we have a fantastic show lined up about applying the circular economy to a digital workplace. In this episode, we will first explore what is meant by the circular economy, why it is so important in the IT industry, and then go through some innovative examples of the circular economy in practice. To help me do that, I'm lucky enough to be joined by not one, not two, but three guests who bring the circular economy to life through hugely valuable solutions in this space. We are joined by Steve Morris, Managing Director of N2S. Hello, Steve.
Hi, Ray. Hello, everyone.
We are joined by Stephen Haskew, Director of Circular Computing. Hello, Stephen.
Hi, Ray. Hi, everyone.
And we are joined by John Selby, Partner Manager of Tier 1. Hello, John.
Hi there, Ray. Hi, everybody.
Before we dive deep into today's topic, let's first set the stage. The global economic system is conventionally built on a linear model of production and consumption, also known as the take, make, and break model. Picture this. First, we take raw materials like chromium and platinum and extract them faster than can be replenished to create new products like laptops. We then make the laptop through an energy-intensive and often carbon-fueled manufacturing process. And finally, once the laptop breaks, we end up with different levels of waste. So what's wrong with this model? Steve Morris, what are some of the issues with raw material extraction, and just how serious of a problem is this in the grand scheme of things?
Thanks, Ray. As you say, that significant amounts of critical raw materials are required in the manufacturing process for technology, and they are, by their nature, not easy to obtain. For example, to create 1 ton of copper, you need to extract 120 tons of copper ore, and that's after you've taken the earth away to access. Similarly, with rare earth metals, huge pits need to be dug out of the earth to allow access to the ores that have these materials in them. So there are some real challenges around that, and the carbon consumed in the mining industry alone is enormous. So it's absolutely crucial that we try to recover as much material as possible as part of the recycling process when products get to the end of their life.
Yeah, thanks. It's clear that raw material extraction is an issue and we need to try and minimise that, as you say. I also think it's often underappreciated in the wider sustainability context, where the focus does tend to be on emissions. However, speaking of which, let us turn our attention to emissions as well, particularly from manufacturing the laptop from raw materials. So, Stephen, just how big of a problem and how much carbon is emitted during manufacturing?
Thanks, Ray. The problem exists mainly because we have a linear buying habit as a society. So we use products for a very short life, whereas the circular economy, let's say, is regenerative by nature. It seeks to reduce and zero out waste and take what's already been made and extend its life. So those are the core principles of the circular economy. Laptop production of brand new product emits 331 kilos or thereabouts on average across all different laptops, which is 3 laptops equals a ton. And the concept of a large user being able to decarbonize their IT estate, particularly in white-collar organisations, can only be achieved when they can adopt a not new device strategy. and therefore adopting a remanufactured solution, which is central to the circular economy, helps them achieve their carbon reduction. But yeah, so for 3 laptops produced, 1 ton of CO2 is produced at the production factory. So it's a big problem that we need to grab with both hands if we're to get to a better carbon position.
Yeah, thanks, Steve. I've looked at some studies and they show that IT is around 3 to 4% of global emissions. That's more than aviation industry. And if we are saying that end user devices like laptops are responsible for over half of those emissions, and that the manufacturing emissions from that is a large portion, then we're talking about really significant emissions that we want to tackle as a whole. Another issue with the model, though, is the waste we are left with once the laptop reaches end of life. So, John, what happens to waste, and what are the consequences of not disposing of waste correctly?
Thanks, Ray. You're right. Tier 1 have really made our name in the area of secure IT asset disposal. We have an emphasis on reuse wherever we can, but due to a combination of factors, predominantly the high level of accreditation that we have around data security, that's one of the real big issues that people have got to get right when they've got to get rid of end-of-life IT devices. And sort of whilst we're talking about sustainability today, all of our customers, and Atos are included in that, put data security at the very, very top of their list of essential requirements. And at Tier 1, I guess we're lucky enough to be able to provide not only those guarantees around data, but also a suite of value adds that complement functional IT disposal. I mentioned we've got an overriding emphasis on reuse of assets and our ability to remarket refurbished and tested and upgraded IT. And that helps us to provide revenue back to customers. Some will take that back into the business. Some will donate those funds to charitable causes that they support. Some will even use it to upgrade devices which are then donated to those deserving causes. We're into our 3rd decade in business now, and Tier 1 customers have been organisations that usually have felt obliged to dispose of IT assets in the correct manner. But there were businesses that no doubt that would simply throw away devices, data bearing or otherwise, really unconcerned by a lack of the serious penalties around that. But these days, companies really are generally committed to reducing waste, and the vast majority abide by the legal considerations that are associated with them. We and GDPR legislation really have created this culture shift, and that those resulting considerations have been able to document that risk and compliance around disposal. But those practicalities aside, the threat of punitive fines tends to focus minds where data is concerned, and likewise an embarrassing environmental faux pas can create a loss of reputation that's really, really difficult to recover.
Yeah, thanks, John. So, it sounds positive then that we have some carrots and we have some sticks that are being applied, to try and tackle waste, because I'm sure we've all seen those images of, big piles of waste. So hopefully, with those initiatives, we can start moving away from that. That's positive. So we can begin to imagine a future where we not only reimagine production and consumption, but also turning waste into value at every turn. And I think that's the magic of the circular economy. It takes a more holistic view of production and consumption paradigm and considers where value can be recaptured from waste within the value chain. And it aims to achieve an absolute decoupling between economic growth and resource use. To support the circular economy, there's several exciting initiatives reshaping the IT landscape. And this is where I'm going to bring back Steve Morris. Would you be able to share what N2S do and how you are helping to tackle the take aspect of the linear economy?
Sure. So traditional methods in the recovery of metals, materials, precious and rare earth metals from e-waste involve industrial shredding and then the use of heat through incineration, chemicals, acids, none of which are particularly environmentally friendly or sustainable. So about 4 years ago, N2S were fortunate to win a government award through Innovate UK, and in partnership with Coventry University, we began a project where we were looking at different ways, sustainable ways to recover these metals from printed circuit boards. About 18 months ago, we opened up a facility in Cambridge and have since then been developing processes which are innovative and sustainable, and for example, one of which uses naturally occurring bacteria to create a mild acid which is capable of putting some metals into solution, which can then be recovered later using traditional electroplating and other similar methods to make solid metal again. These processes are still under development, but we currently are able to recover most base metals, some of the precious metals, and we're now looking at the recovery of rare earth metals, which are absolutely critical in the future manufacturing process for all kinds of digital technology.
No, that's fantastic. I think it's such an innovative approach to retrieve these materials, and in a way that, as you say, avoid some of the challenges with some of the other methods. So it's brilliant to hear that. I was actually at an event, a sustainability festival, in fact, where N2S had a stand where you was asking people to donate or give back their IT equipment that is no longer used, so you could get rid of it sustainably. So is it only laptops that can go through that process, or is there other IT equipment that could also have been donated at the event?
No, not at all. All telecoms and IT equipment contain printed circuit boards, and because of the way in which they manufacture, they tend to have a higher concentration of these precious and rare earth metals, which makes them commercially viable to process. But also it can then feed back into the circular economy. The metals that are recovered can go back into the manufacturing process. But no, any material, any electrical item that contains a printed circuit board potentially could go through this process.
Brilliant, thanks, Steve. So let me bring in Stephen. Stephen, could you take us through what circular computing do and how you are helping to tackle the make aspect of the linear economy?
Thank you. Circular computing are the world's only and first remanufacturer of laptop technology. So one of the things that helps bring sustainability onto the table is the reuse of a product. We are tackling big users of laptops, so big central government estates, big industry. We see being able to fix their problem being a massive driver towards helping their carbon ambitions and reducing carbon emissions generally. So the way that we go about that is producing a product that is remanufactured. It's not refurbished. We have a purpose-built factory that's taken 8 years to understand the behavior of the various component technologies of a laptop. We work closely with the British Standards Institution, and we're awarded a kite mark for our product, and the kite mark represents a standard that says the product must be equal to or better than new, with an equal to or better than new warranty. So the next user of that laptop is protected in terms of performance and quality, and also when it's on the desk from a warranty provision. That's, in our opinion, the only way to really get a circular economy moving, is to get the large users within technology, the large users of technology using our technology, as in laptops, and therefore we must protect their experience at all times. There must be zero compromise in reuse, and that's what circular computing brings to market.
No, thanks, Stephen. So you mentioned you mentioned there's a difference between refurbished and remanufacturing, and in fact, I get asked by customers and colleagues, whoa, so what's the difference? I didn't realize there's a difference. So maybe you could just explain the difference and, provide one or two examples of the level of detail that goes into your process.
Of course. Firstly, there's a market for both products. We just address a market that want a slightly different type of product. So that the two grades of product are very different. We align to brand new, and refurbished in our world as a second-hand product. The main difference being is that the next user finds it difficult to distinguish the language. It's a new language. The circular economy is a new economy, so we need to be very careful that there's a representation of performance and quality that the next user of that equipment can abide by. So, when we receive a product from the ITAD market, which is where tier one sit, they do their piece, which is data sanitization, preparing the product for remarketing. We'll take that product in. It will get split down to its subcomponent level. So a subcomponent would be a keyboard, for instance, and the component of that would be the keycap. So we don't take it down to keycap level. We take it down to the keyboard level, and that'll be the same for the screen and the motherboards and so forth. They shoot off down their testing bays. They get retested, repaired, replaced, or remanufactured as a subcomponent. They then come back into the main production area. They get reassembled into a finished item. They get given the Kai mark, and then they're ready for resale. And we do that in volume. So we're able to address the large organisations that we work closely with Atos with to help them decarbonise, and that's where the circular economy becomes achievable at scale.
Yeah, thanks, Stephen. And I've seen the circular computing devices when it comes with the box, and they are fantastic devices, and as you say, very difficult or almost impossible, I'd say, to distinguish. They look brand new when they come out of that box. So our last partner is Tier 1. So John, would you mind taking us through what Tier 1 do and how you help to tackle the break aspect of the linear economy?
Yeah, of course. I mean, our process starts, especially with data-bearing devices, with a secure collection and a thorough transfer of custody process. Devices come to Tier 1's premises in the UK. They're booked onto an online asset management system that allows our customers to have a view of their items through the entirety of the process. We wipe them to National Cybersecurity Centre standards, test them, clean them, upgrade them, refurbish them, and make them ready for sale. And 500,000 devices a year pass through Tier 1 system. We've got to be able to account for every single one of those. Being able to remarket those locally refurbished devices allows SMEs, the education sector, the health sector, typically those who've got a tight budget and don't necessarily need the cutting edge technology, but it gives them the ability to buy enterprise level IT where the finances really don't allow them to buy brand new devices. What's interesting in circularity, with regards to circularity, is that we're seeing more and more customers of ours asking Tier 1 to redeploy their assets back into the organisation. And our customers tell us that that's because of a couple of major factors, cost being one of them, and decarbonisation, and that decarbonisation factor again. And as Stephen rightly said, saving up to around about 300 kilograms of carbon by reusing a device and buying refurbished or remanufactured is an easy win.
Yeah, thanks, John. I'm also conscious that sustainability includes other topics such as social value. So could you explain how Tier 1 drives social value as an organisation and through some of your solutions?
Well, as I say, we have an emphasis on reuse wherever we can, but the question always crops up about what do we do with devices that are simply too old or too broken that we can't reuse? And historically, those kind of devices went to downstream partners for the breakdown, using mechanical sort of energy high level processes that weren't necessarily that brilliant for the environment. But we had a request from Atos to help with a large bid that required the disposal of around 100,000 devices on a replace on fail basis. And that really had us scratching our heads, in all honesty, because we've got a business model and an ethos of trying to reuse devices. So what were we going to do with thousands of broken ones? Now, our mantra at Tier 1 really is to grow the business. We're a profitable organisation, but we also want to give back at the same time. And to that end, we'd also worked with charity partners. And it was one of these charities that we were working with. We were actually working with ex-offenders that mentioned the idea of a prison industry. So the thought processes that went into place kind of kicked into overdrive because of this link between the customer, prisons, our approach to social value, and it was a really kind of strong connection. And as an agile organisation, we were able to approach a local, actually category B prison, to create a workshop that created meaningful work for inmates in there, doing a physical breakdown of these non-data bearing devices into their constituent parts. The revenue from these constituent parts was donated to the charity. They offer a Through the Gate programme for recently released inmates. It provides training, it provides rehabilitation, it provides support, and ultimately at the end of that process, a job. And a job, of course, is one of the key drivers to reducing reoffending. We showed the Atos bid team these outcomes that the workshop created, and they recognised that this was a real key differentiator in their bid. And 10 years later, we've got Atos utilising the revenue from your own end-of-life IT devices to fund a mentor programme to offer further support to ex-offenders who've come through the programme and found themselves in jobs. It's contributed to £4 million worth of societal savings. Nearly 90 ex-offenders are still in work, and we have a reoffending rate of people who've gone through the programme of 6% against the national average of somewhere in the region of 40%. You know, and this great work, all from the disposal of end-of-life IT that can't be reused. So we've got this belief that in providing second chances doesn't necessarily apply to IT devices, but also those individuals that are in our community as well.
No, thanks for sharing that, John. And I've been to the workshops, and I've seen the meaningful work given to men, and the statistics regarding reoffending through this program are an incredible testament to what you shared. So as we wrap up this episode, it's clear that the circular economy isn't just a buzzword. It's a critical concept reshaping the IT industry and our digital workplaces. At Atos, we are committed to integrating circularity seamlessly into our digital workplace services through collaborative partnerships with exceptional innovation. Our approach to driving circularity involves implementing solutions aimed at prolonging the lifespan of devices, reducing waste, and minimizing environmental impact. This is combined with proactive employee engagement to raise awareness of how every one of us can better interact and take advantage of the more circular approach. So thank you for joining us on this episode of Advancing Sustainability, an Atos Sustainability podcast series. We hope you found this episode insightful. I think everyone needs to think differently about consumption and how to decouple growth with resource use. I would encourage you all to think about the life cycle of your hardware in your organisation and whether more can be done to support the circular economy. Have you considered remanufactured devices? Are you proud of your disposal processes? If you would like to learn more about the circular economy, how Atos or any of our partners can help improve the circularity of your IT and workplace, or just to share your thoughts on the podcast and contribute to the discussion, then please connect with me at ray.knight@atos.net, or you can find me, Atos, or any of our speakers on LinkedIn. Until next time, keep exploring, keep innovating, and keep advancing what matters.
What a great session. Don't miss the other episodes of Atos Sustainability Talks. Have a great day.